This is the morning show here on Signature TV. Charles here. It's 9 a.m. on a fine Wednesday morning. Hope you're good out there. So, in time past, I mean, when you speak of issues regarding teenagers, you tend to, try to talk about peer pressure, try to talk about parenting, try to talk about, what they are going through in terms of discovering themselves, trying to rewrite some of the things that they, had known while they were young. I mean, that's the time that they're, moving into adulthood, and sometimes some of the things that they had known from childhood tends to try to dissipate. They tend to now see the world in a totally different light. Yeah, you may speak about all of those things, but you would never mention a few years ago that maybe social media will be a problem to the teens. Well, we'll talk about that a little later, or better still, just this morning, because Ifeoma Nwatu, the teen handler and a public servant, is with us. She will speak to us about that particular topic, the teens, their psychology and positions in times like this. Good to have you. Good morning.
Good morning.
How do you do?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm fine. Good morning.
I mean, did you at any point, you're a teen handler, did you at any point envisage that social media will be a major issue for young people?
Yes, I did, because at some point when social media started becoming a kind of a bad influence, becoming a standard for teenagers more than the family values, and owing to the fact that in recent time we have more absent parents than it used to be before now. So I had that feeling that social media could actually be an influence on the teenager.
But is it more of a bad influence or a good influence on teenagers? Because again, when you look at social media, there are different, spheres. The social media world is wild.
Of course.
So why is it bad? I mean, it's only when you go to the bad part that it becomes bad for you now. But don't you think that it can be used for better too?
The teen's brain is still developing, and the part scientifically, the part of the brain that helps you make informed decisions is still developing in a teenager. Then when we look at the social media, it seems the negative part of the social media is louder than the positive parts of the social media. And to a very large extent, even you as an adult, you stumble into these negative ones, the trends. When positive things happen, it hardly trends. But once there's a negative news, it flies like wildfire everywhere. And it's influencing these teenagers because their minds are not strong. They are easily influenced because they don't even know what to do part-time. They are trying to figure out things, so they go with the principles, the what the social media presents to them. They go with the values they see on social media. They go with these standards because they feel, oh, that's a trend, and because it's popular, it makes it right. Yes.
Interesting. So that means beyond just teaching the teenager how to behave, what to look out for, you start teaching them also how to use social media, isn't
Yes,
it? I mean,
of
it should be
course.
part of the parenting.
Yes.
I mean, it adds to the pile of things.
I tell parents at some point your teenager should have no business on the social media, except they are using it for something positive. But if it's just to be like where you come to social media, you keep scrolling, getting information that are not useful to them, what is a teenager doing on social media? If a teenager is using a social media to build a brand, is different. Like I have teenagers who are working on, there's a program they call, yesterday was Earth Day. They had some presentation of converting waste to useful materials and the rest of it, and they need to upload it. If it's for fun, I don't think a teenager have any business on social media, except when they are up to maybe say 18, 19. At that point, you as a parent already knows the values you have inculcated in this teenager, because most of the times parents leave these teenagers to themselves. You just give them phone, you don't regulate How many parents can come out and say, this is who my daughter or my son is following on social media? Who are their influencers on social media? Most of them come to social media, they just look at the trends, the fashions, the new music, and all of that, which is somehow, to an extent, is not beneficial to their growth. So to me, I would say, if a teenager must be on social media, there should be a regulation.
To what extent, really? What kind of regulation are you looking at? Is it parental regulation, societal regulation, or even government regulation? Because again, it's a thin line. Because we've seen people become social media managers.
Yes.
And now it's even a thing. Like when you are in the past, when you are a social media person or an influencer, you tend to be downgraded. You just stay on one side. But right now, it's
Things
like
are evolving.
it's a major deal.
Yes,
you know,
it is.
There isn't no company right now that is not on social media.
I know. Yes, most of the teenagers are into tech, except for reasons like that. And if they are going into this tech, I think there's regulations, because if you're managing somebody's social media page, there are things you're not meant to do as a social media handler. Like when there's toxic comments, you don't become so loud, you don't reply people rudely. So there are regulations. If you're a social media handler, there are regulations, there are things you don't do, there are trends you don't jump into. But leaving them all to themselves, when they are not using it for something profitable, something beneficial, something non-productive, that's what we are looking at. I have a whole lot of teenagers that are into tech, graphic designing, social media managers, and all of that they do on the social media space. But there's regulation by those who give them this assignment.
Absolutely.
To handle for them. But the regulations I'm talking about, charity, they say, begins at home. If you're giving a teenager a phone, why will a teenager be online by 1 a.m. when that child is meant to be sleeping? Who is the child chatting with? So there should be a no phone zone in your house. There should be a known phone time in the house. And you should tell a teenager there's something called cyberbullying. You should tell a teenager that everybody on social media are not your mates, so you don't talk to people anyhow. And you also need to make a teenager understand that the life of social media is not what life is in the reality of life. That what people show you is what they want you to see, so you should not be moved by that. Because in recent times, teenagers are taking their standard from social media. So once people are pushing a narrative, okay, set for example, this last weekend, we just had the wedding that trended. You know the wedding I'm talking about. And there's this bestie, oh, they have been besties for over time, and everybody's like validating it. Oh, he's a wonderful person. There was no strings attached. He allowed her to get married and all of that. A teenager who have not been guided from home, who doesn't understand the principles of relationship, who doesn't have his or her feelings in check, will feel, oh, having a relationship with the opposite sex is fine, forgetting that there are some points your feelings will play tricks on you. Is valid, is normal, but it doesn't give you direction to life. I don't know if you're getting it. So these are the things you need to teach these teenagers before you release them into the world of the social media.
A lot of people say that teenage age is the rebellious age. Is that true? Have you experienced that? Rebellious in the terms of they tend to go against what their parents say most of the time. They tend to say no to some things. Yes. They tend to test the parents' resolve, and see where it takes them.
Because the Gen Z teenager believes that they have their rights. In our days, we were taking instructions without even knowing why. Like, you come home and your parents tell you, this cup, don't keep this cup here. And the answer is yes, ma. You don't have any rights to ask. There's this fear. But the Gen Zs, no, they want to know why. And until they understand the why, they rebel. So that's the gap. That's the problem between this generation of teenagers and the generation before now. So if there's lack of proper communication, two things happen. It's either the teenager is rebelling, or the teenager stays on his or her own, doesn't communicate, doesn't want to seek any form of advice or take instructions. They just withdraw. That's the word. They will just withdraw completely. But those ones that want to be heard will communicate it wrongly. That's where the rebel comes in. But if there's effective communication between the parent and the teenager, and have an understanding, because recent time we want them to understand us without we understanding them. So if you want a teenager to behave very well, understand you, first of all need to understand that teenager. So that's why a whole lot of people judge them to be rebels. But the truth is that there's a misunderstanding somewhere in communicating what you want them to do. Sometimes we have expectations. We expect them to do this, we expect them to do that. And in most cases, you don't even teach them this, and you're already having expectations. It doesn't happen. You're supposed to know, you're supposed to do this. Did you teach them how to do it? That's the question. So I'm not trying to make excuses for them. Some of them can go haywire, you get. But if there's proper communication between the parents and the teenager, the level of rebellious teenagers will reduce.
All right. At that age too, I mean, they're also trying to fine-tune their lives. That's the time that are probably taking the best types of decision regarding their career, what they're going to study, what they're going to become. That's the bridge between what they said they wanted to be while they were kids and launching into what they actually, want to become. And that's usually a far cry from what they said they wanted to be when they were kids. Some say they wanted to be pilot. In fact, I think I remember that I said I wanted to be pilot for more than 10 times, while I was a kid. Maybe I'm being a pilot here today, so.
Okay, yes, you're still piloting your face.
This is the airplane pilot, actually, not the pilot as an honor personality. But again, what should define a teenager's thinking as to what they would become in terms of career? Because over time we've seen parents take decisions for kids.
Teenagers.
They said, "Look, this is what I want you to be this. I want you to be that. And if you're not be this, then I am not fulfilled." So, what kind of communication, what kind of conversation should be held between the teenager and the parents regarding, what they want to become?
Okay, in recent times, parents want to clone teenagers. You want to mold them the way you want. You want them to just be. I want you to become this. I want you to see you. Forgetting that these teenagers have their own lives. They have their choices. They have their desires. Not just career, but every other thing in life. I had a teenager who loved football so much. And the father wants him to become an engineer. So this is already an issue. I invited both of them, and
something just came to my mind. I said, like, you can become a football engineer now.
Okay, that could actually be possible because things are really evolving, things are changing, there are dynamics to a whole lot of things now.
Yeah.
And they wanted him to become an engineer. I think he's still in SS1, so he plays a whole lot of football. I just told the father, what you need to do is to guide him and tell him there is time for everything. The time for your training should not clash with your time of study. You can create time, manage that, okay, maybe on weekends, I'll play football. From Monday to Friday, I'm doing my academics. So if he chooses a career in football, let him be. Let him get the basic education, maybe still play his football, get his degree, and let him make a choice where he's found. The most important thing is where this child finds fulfillment and satisfaction. A whole lot of parents want their teenagers to become what they don't even have interest in becoming. That is why we just like when you're growing up, you see that, oh, this is what I wanted. There are too many factors. It could be finances, it could be the society, just like in our country here, a whole lot of things can make you change your mind. Or you can even find out that you're actually struggling in this area. So why will you be where you're struggling, where there's somewhere else you have the strength that you can do this thing effortlessly? So parents need to sit down and have this conversation with these teenagers. Know why their passion is driving them to a particular field of career or profession. And if that child is not struggling in that area, it's fine. There are footballers making money. A whole lot of teenagers are going into tech. It wasn't like that before now. We had this a kind of timetable of, it's either you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, or you're an engineer. But the world is evolving. There are diversities of careers that people can go into and still make a living out of it. So our parents need to welcome this new development.
So that means we would also need an educated parent to even lead the kids these days. Because if you're a parent, you're not educated enough, you wouldn't see the opportunity, that comes with these types of things, isn't it?
Yes, knowledge is very, very important, both for the parent and the teenager. Yes.
So in today's world, just beyond the social media, gasp that we are trying to talk through, what are the other things that affects the Nigerian teenager?
Okay, in recent time, parenting has affected a whole lot of teenagers in Nigeria because, like I said earlier, we have a whole lot of busy, absent parents that leave teenagers to do life by themselves. And these teenagers are learning principles from the society. Some of them are reparenting themselves. Yes.
But in a world where you have issues with meeting up with expenses that comes with taking care of them, I mean, it's neither here nor there. I mean, you can't be at home all the time trying to parent your kids when you need to make money to feed them. So it's either you do one and then the one suffers, and the other one, you do the other one.
That's where value comes in. Value. What do you uphold? Because there's this Yoruba, I'm not Yoruba, but there's this Yoruba adage, I don't know how, but I'm going to say the English part of it, that if you leave your children to build a house without taking care of them, they will grow up and sell the house you built without building them. Now, I know we need this money. We need to take care of them. But then there are things we need to teach them, and that's where time and value comes in. If you have family values, you start teaching them, even with the smallest time you have. I had an MD in a big firm in Port Harcourt where I worked. He doesn't come to the office every Wednesday. He stays back at home, drops his children at school, picks them up from school, and sits with them, do their assignments and every other thing they need to do. He spends time with these children. Growing up, my father works outside the state. He travels every Monday morning and comes back every Friday. But between Friday evening and Monday morning before he leaves, he takes his time to ask us questions, have deep conversations, teach us what we need to do, make sure that everything we need to do in the house, we do it. Pays attention to our academics. How have you been struggling? How has your week been? Okay, this is what you need to do. If it is like this, you do it this way. He keeps reminding us of our family values. In our family, we don't do this. We don't tolerate this. But some parents just, when their teenagers get into trouble and you ask them, Madam or Sir, are you aware that this child is doing this? They will the question they will ask the child is, do you lack anything? I provide everything. Parenting is more than provision of material things. What are you teaching them? What values, what principles? There are life principles that you teach a child Even if a child finds in him or herself in the most corrupt place, it keeps ringing in their mind, except that child decides to. I know you can do your all and the child decides to take a path, choose a path that is maybe somehow destructive, but then that child will not deny the fact that I was taught this earlier in life. So parents should create time for their teenagers. It's not going to be a whole day. It's not going to be like a 24 hours round the clock, but be in their lives. How do you be in their life? Communication. When you come back, even if it's just 1 hour, how was school today? What happened in school? Are you finding any subject difficult? Yes. Okay. What are you trying to do? Do you need a lesson teacher? Do you need this and all of that? So I think parents should start paying attention. And if your child is talking about friends, I have this friend, you should take out time to know who these friends are. What do they talk about? What do they do? These holidays now, a whole lot of parents, because they don't need disturbance, they want to go about their businesses, they send their children out to family friends to go and do sleepover. Sleepover should not just be something of based on relationship, it should also be based on trust, because now most parents choose class over values in choices of friends and family. Like family friends, they say, oh, this person, they have money, they are living in duplex, you can go there, they will take care of you. Not minding if this family I'm sending my child to, if their family values aligns with our own family values. So that's why some teenagers, they will go, come back worse.
They'll go and come back worse.
Yes. A whole lot of things are going on. A whole lot of things are going on. So before you trust your child with anybody, you should, to a very reasonable level, know who this person is before you trust the person with your child. So but a lot of parents are not paying attention to that. So long as he's our church member, he's my colleague in the office, we come from the same place, he's my uncle's sister and all of that, my children are free with them. You should also look at the values these people uphold as a family, as a person. Does it align with my own family values? If you have a family value, because there are some families that don't have family values, they just wake up and do whatever, nothing is wrong, everything is fine. So long as we move around and make money, every other thing is not a problem.
How much of sex education is important, especially in an African setting, because it's difficult to speak about sex education in an African parents' homes. It's almost like a taboo to speak about sex education. So you would wonder whether it's important. I mean, the parents just grow up hoping that the kids just know about sex. Yeah, they teach you about behavioral patterns, they teach you about how not to speak, what to do and what not to do, your career and all that. But when it comes to sex, they're always running away from it. They don't like to talk to their words about sex.
It's very important. Sex education is as important as every other aspect of life. Teach them. I advise parents from the age of 5, 7. Start telling them, these are your private parts. Nobody should touch this place. And when they have become teenagers, say it the way it is. That's my advice.
When you're a teenager, say it the way it is.
Say it the way it is. Demystify it. Don't try to paint it. Don't say this one is this and this one is that. Call it by its name. Tell them the consequences. Tell them this is what it is. You don't need to, because if you don't, in this time of social media, they have their peers, they have their biology teachers, others will teach them. Their phones will teach them, and it's not going to teach them the right ones. It's definitely going to teach them the wrong aspect of it. So you sit them down and start telling them on time what sex education is all about, why you should not engage in it. This is a certain age, this is when you're supposed to engage in it. Don't stay in an environment. Tell them the triggers. Let them understand what their hormones, their emotions, their feelings. And when you're teaching them this, give them a safe space that when you start feeling this way, come to me. And when they come to you, don't judge them, because that's what a whole lot of parents do. When a child comes and say, mommy, I am crushing on this boy or this girl, the person like, hey, God forbid, upon everything I have done, oh, this boy, you are a spoilt brat and all of that. No, let them know that it is valid, as you're growing, you're developing. These feelings are normal, but it's your ability to control it that what makes you the better and the bigger person here. So sex education is very important. Gone are those days where we try to shield these children and hide these things from them, because if you don't, a whole lot of things out there will teach them that. Yes, because normally these feelings will come, so you need to start teaching them how to manage and handle the feelings.
What for you is your greatest fear about parenting a teenager?
The 21st century teenager. Emotional distance of parents from the teenagers in recent time. Yes, because parents have left the media, the society, to parent children.
Are they still considered kids at that age?
No, they are still kids. So they are your children. They keep being your children. Is it because they are teenagers? There's something I was trying to narrate to somebody. I think a few days back. I said, when a child is small, like a toddler, like trying to crawl or learning how to walk, and the child falls, you hear people tell you, shh, don't shout. Because if you shout, the child will be scared and the child will not want to walk again. So, but when they become teenagers, what changed? We no longer want to see them as those babies. When they fall, we are like, are you blind? Can't you see? And all of that. So apart from that, it happens in real life. When they make mistakes, we feel that, why should you make mistakes? And we forget that they are still growing. They are still our children that needs guidance, that needs to be protected, that needs to be given directions. So they are still children. There's a book somebody wrote, I think just me, I said, teenagers are people too. So they are still children, but we cannot somehow they are kids because they are still developing. Even their brains have not really developed fully. I think that is one of the reasons why if a teenager commits a crime, they don't convict them. Even if they go to take them to prison, they have the juvenile where they try to shoot them from adults. So they're still kids.
Ifeoma Nwatu, many thanks. Truly appreciate your insights on the topic, teenagers and their psychology.
Thank you.
All right. We're back after the short break. Do stay with us.
Save Nature TV. News in your pocket.